Back, gender-based violence in South Africa has become an epidemic on its own. Now, despite programs and campaigns launched to fight the scourge, the murders continue. Let's get more from the Deputy Minister from the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, Hlengiwe Mkhize. Thank you for your time, Deputy Minister. We appreciate it. So, is it safe to say that we're losing this GBV war, given that police stats reveal all forms of gender-based violence have increased in the past year?
Well, maybe we need to look at, thank you for having me first, good afternoon to listeners. Maybe we need to look at a balanced view of official statistics. You know, just this week we're examining the number of lifers, people who have been given life sentence because of these crimes. So, which is something we believe will send a clear message to perpetrators. But I will agree with you that the brutality of cases recently, I think since 2018, 2019, Winene, Mukwetane, and many other young people brutally murdered after being raped, that part has been really of great concern. But maybe also we need to look at interventions that have been done to turn around the tide. Like, you know, improving the criminal justice system. I know it's not prevention. We cannot over-celebrate it. But what is remarkable is that the police station today is not the kind of police station you walk into 2 years ago, around 2018. So there are people who have been trained. There are people who are specializing in these cases. And generally, they are given instructions that even those which you dropped, which you didn't pick them up. The courts is no longer simply saying the case is not clear, it's weak, and throw it out. Investigators are given more resources. Sexual offences courts are being have been expanded. We are now on the review of relevant legislation. So it's to make sure that people don't get off the hook, mainly because of contradictions within our legislative framework.
Yeah.
So it's bad enough. It's not good for our constitution and the country, but the interventions we're taking, I think they are more measurable, concrete. They are likely to get us somewhere.
Yeah. So obviously last year, President Cyril Ramaphosa said that South Africa was one of the most unsafe places in the world for a woman to be living in. And you mentioned these measures that are currently in place, but even identifying the hotspot areas and police stations, that move is being questioned by some experts because it's so difficult to get to the police stations in terms of the reporting of these GBV cases. The true reflection is what's being questioned about these so-called hotspot areas. So you have those sort of concerns about this plan that's currently unfolding from government. What do you do to address these concerns so we don't get to a point where in a year we're saying, actually, we should have done this better? Do you consider them now?
Yeah, you know, yesterday the president spoke about the establishment of the bill to have the gender-based violence and femicide cancer, which will play a major role in terms of improving civil society informed statistics. At the moment, we rely entirely on official statistics given by the state, so to say. But once we have a gender-based violence and femicide cancer, their responsibility will be to track, to monitor, and to record. And in that way, there'll be a way of cross-validating the statistics. Because you see, saying this is a hotspot, it might be an area where the environment is conducive for reporting and cases are taken up. In another area, they could be the worst, but even the police station might not be functioning at the level of being able to do the necessary test to cross to write good reports that will stand in a court of law and so on. So we have to fast-track the establishment of the GBV and F Council so that work could begin to be coordinated, structured, and give us official results.
Yeah. So do we need to teach gender studies at schools from primary school level, in fact, to change this twisted culture that we're seeing unfolding in South Africa? More needs to be done in that regard, would you say?
Well, I agree with you. We could start with curriculum actually review quite early from the ECD level. Because if you look at a patriarchal society like ours, a 4-year-old leaves home, has an image of a mother who runs around in the morning looking after the father, looking after children. When they come back, it's the same routine. The father is reading a paper, is watching television, shouts if tea is late, and so on. So we need to begin to deconstruct and reconstruct the child's world quite early. By the time they get to school, I don't think we've done much in terms of the curriculum review. Remember, we have inherited the curriculum of a system which was not against patriarchy, sexism, racism, and all that. So we need a fine tooth all the way, not to mention universities. We don't here in this country have gender studies. We don't have specialists who are helping students and saying, in this institution, when you come out of it, you would have been transformed, irrespective of the career or profession you are pursuing.
Yeah.
We have to do things differently for different results.
So, Deputy Minister, outside of us talking about what needs to happen at this very early stage in children's livelihoods and the way they're brought up and the guidance that they receive, what can you, as the Department of Women, actually do to make sure that this is introduced at a basic education level?
Well, you know, we have a monitoring framework that has been developed by us, being assisted by the Department of Monitoring and Evaluation in the Presidency. So basically, we sign agreements with different departments in terms of our expectations. In our case, it's not only gender-based violence, it's also the issue of persons with disability. So basically, in our conversations and high-level indicators with the departments of education, it is important to put clear indicators against which officials can be held accountable. And remember also, ministers signed an agreement with the president. The president is fully behind, is actually leading from the front, running 100 Ks ahead of all of us. So if our frameworks are implemented systematically and carefully with each and every department, then we will begin to see actions which will reduce towards elimination of gender-based violence or patriarchal mindsets. Because even attitudes, you can't just say if you describe the negative attitudes towards this or being patriarchal, it will solve the problem. There have to be interventions that are measurable, that you think definitely they will give you the results you aspire.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. The Deputy Minister of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, Hlengiwe Mkhize.